welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about why it's offensive to tell goth people to tone it down. So I do want to preface it by saying that it's the end of the year, and if you're new in your goth alternative creative expression journey, I hate to break it to you, but at some point in your life, when it gets to be like this time of the year, people are going to come up to you and be like, you know what your New Year's resolution should be? Do you? Do you? Do you? Yeah, yeah. Hint, hint. Your New Year's resolution should be that you should tone it down and you shouldn't be goth anymore. Yeah, you should totally leave that goth thing in this year and don't bring it into the next. Like, people are gonna say that to you, and I just want to make this video so that you are more mentally prepared to handle those interactions, and people are gonna gaslight you and be like, why are you offended? It's just my opinion. Well, I was just saying. And this video is just meant to like validate your opinions about why it's harmful. Like, and don't let people gaslight you. I fully am aware that people who need this video and need to learn from it are not going to watch it. So I do want to preface by saying that this video is to validate those feelings that you may have of like, damn, why am I so bothered by this? Why is this so problematic? Why is this so annoying? And you haven't quite put your finger on it yet. So this is for you. So when people say you should tone it down, if I had $1 for every time somebody said that to me, I would probably have $1 million. People think that this is a compliment, but what they don't realize is that it just feels icky. You know, you're so pretty. You should tone it down, and you would be even prettier then if you blank insert beauty standard here. Like, oh my gosh, you would be so pretty. Your natural hair color would probably look so much better on you. Oh my gosh, you're so pretty. Why do you have all those tattoos? You look so much better without them. Oh my gosh, you're so pretty, but like all these piercings, like, why would you ruin your body like that? It's like putting a bumper sticker on a Bentley. Like, at some point, you're going to hear things like that. And I want to let you know that you're not alone. And you are totally right. That is icky. So, I'm editing this video, and I just want to preface by saying that, a lot of times when people tell you to tone it down, they don't really mean tone it down. They mean turn it off entirely. Like, they just don't want you to exist at all. Because there's been so many times where people have told me that I need to learn how to tone it down when I was already toned down, like pretty much watered down version of myself, especially when it comes to things like work and school and like dressing accordingly to like special occasions and stuff. Like, I'm already toned down for the event that I'm in. I'm already toned down for work. I'm already toned down for school. I'm already toned down for like specific family events and occasions and such. I'm already dressed appropriately for the event that I'm at. So you don't actually want a toned down version of me. You just literally don't want me to exist, because I have worn lighter makeup looks before. I have, like, my hair is in its natural color. People are so, like, people will just find things to complain about. Like, they just don't care. Like, I have not bleached my hair in over a decade, and people will find things to complain about in my alternative appearance. My tattoos are on my stomach. You cannot see my tattoos unless I wear a crop top and it's like summer. So, like, when it's winter, like, you don't have anything to complain about. So it's like if my makeup is already toned down and my hair is already in its natural color, and you can't even see my tattoos, and I don't have any piercings, and I'm not even wearing jewelry, and you're still complaining and telling me that I need to tone down, then I'm convinced that you just literally don't want me to exist in the world. I'm convinced that you want me out of sight or literally dead. And I tend to stay away from people like this. I don't want to be your friend. If we are related, I don't claim you as family. If this is somebody that I work with, I need to find a new job. I need to find new people to surround myself with. I need to avoid these people like the plague that they are, because it is so detrimental to your overall health and well being to be surrounded by people like this. So when people say things like, you're so pretty, but you should tone it down a little bit. What the person saying it may not realize is that this compliment is not helpful. It's actually the furthest thing from it. It's an insult to my identity. It's an insult to my intelligence, and it shows a complete lack of understanding of the subculture and its rich history and rebellious state that it is willful ignorance. Telling a goth person to tone it down is like telling a painter to don't use colors when they paint. It's like telling a musician don't use instruments to make music. Like, what the fuck is left at that point? It just tells people that they should make themselves smaller, they should make themselves quieter, they should make themselves more palatable to other people because other people's comfort is more important than their right to exist. So today, let's break down what it actually means when you tell someone to tone it down and why they may take it so poorly. What you're saying is that my identity is a costume and that you're treating me like I'm some angsty teenager going through a phase that you're waiting for me to grow out of because it's somehow an inconvenience to you. And that's not the case at all. I also want to say that I have literally been an alternative teenager. I grew up as an emo kid from like middle school to high school. And the same people, adults and children alike back then, who were telling me that I need to tone down and were treating me like they were just waiting for me to grow out of this phase, they don't treat me better now that I'm an adult than they did when I was a kid. That I haven't grown out of this phase and accepted that this is my real personality and my interests. I still get like anonymous texts and like occasional DMs from like extreme estranged family members to this day occasionally telling me things like, well, when are you gonna grow out of this phase? When are you gonna stop being so weird? When are you gonna be normal like the rest of us? When are you gonna like start rebelling? Like, don't you think it's getting old? Like, I still get people saying stuff like that to me to this day, and I'm in my mid 30s. So if you're like a teenager and people are saying stuff like this to you, and you think that when you grow older, people will respect you more when you're an adult, I'm sorry, but it literally doesn't end. And I know goth people in their 50s. I know goth people in their 60s. I've met goth people in their 70s or 80s and like various other alternative people from all ages. And I'm telling you, it does not end as you get older. If people find reasons to disrespect you as a child, and you're an adult and then they're still disrespecting you, it was never about you just being a child, and it's about them being a child and not being a fully developed adult. Goth fashion isn't random, it's very intentional, and there's a lot of history that goes into it, especially when you learn about the original punk movement and how that eventually evolved into what we currently know as the goth scene today. Like all black clothes, pale makeup, big eyeliner is all a part of the identity of what someone would see as like making up the DNA of the goth subculture in addition to the music. Like the look is inspired by the music, and the music is inspired by books, literature, architecture, and so many different things. There's so many layers to this, there's so many levels to this. Like, you're basically telling people that they shouldn't have the right to exist, and it really is that serious, and it really is that deep. Every single element of goth fashion is so intentional, and there's so many things that connect to other things that you may not realize. So velvet is like attached to Victorian mourning wardrobe and clothing. It's also like associated with being witchy, being vampy. Like, it has a lot of connotations with that, and it just relates to so many different elements of my personality and things that I'm genuinely interested in. I also want to say that a lot of times people think that the reason why goth people dress the way they do is to try and fit in with other goth people, which I won't deny is the experience of other people, especially the younger generation coming in. But a lot of times people find the goth subculture because they're already interested in everything that we've come to know and associate with being goth. And the subculture provides a way for you to just find each other and put a name to things so that you can form community. Like a lot of things that are associated with subculture today for me were things that I was already naturally interested in. And then as I got older, I was like, oh, this is like a movement. This is like a subculture. There's a name for it. I can find other people who like the same things as me. There's, oh, this is like a music. Like this is a whole music genre. It's not just these couple songs or these couple of bands. Like this is a whole like music thing. Oh, this music connects to books that I've already read. Oh, the books that I read are inspired by all these other things that I like. Like it's already like these are things that are associated with things that you already like and enjoy, and the subculture is really just there to provide a community so that you can find other like-minded groups of people. So it's not really about trying to fit in. It's about, like expressing yourself and finding other like-minded people that accept you as well. Things like leather and fishnets aren't just clothing. Like it's an extension of things that I feel on the inside and things that I associate with. A lot of things that we associate to be within God fashion does kind of borrow from kink. And there is a history of people within the SW industries helping to start the goth subculture. Like they would use the money from their endeavors to fund parties, DJs, music lessons, also raise funds for the community, and so many things. And sometimes people do wear things like fishnets, collars, chokers, and such to pay homage to those people who originally started the subculture to begin with. But also, it could just be because I genuinely like these things and they're a part of how I want to show up in the world. So when you say tone me down, you're not just coming for my sense of fashion, you're coming for my identity and all these different things that I'm interested in. And you're telling me that I just should not have the right to exist because I don't show up in a world that is palatable to you. It's just really entitled, it's really icky, it's really condescending, and it's so immature. And it's like, I would have more grace for people that say stuff like this if they were literal children. But it's people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, people old enough to be my parents, people old enough to be my grandparents who have been alive long enough to where they should know better. But older does not always equal more mature. Now, does it? The next layer of the insult is you're basically saying that my level of rebellion isn't valid, that you don't accept it because you just want me to pretend to be something I'm not so that you can be happy, but not really taking into consideration of what makes me happy. So, goth is a post punk subculture. And if you know anything about the original punk movement, having, it was all about a movement that was a rebellion against society, not just in terms of how we look, but just in terms of like how society is run in general, and just really taking time to like look at the way the world is turning and saying, hey, this isn't right. We should do the exact opposite of what people are telling us to do. And we should show up in the exact opposite way of what people are telling us to show up as, because it doesn't serve us and it doesn't serve the planet, it doesn't serve our community or anything. Like, it is so much deeper than just fashion. Like, there's so much history that you can look into before you make these comments. It's just really ignorant. And I don't know. So yeah, like punk was loud and goth kind of took it and made it a little bit pretty and allowed us to take some of that angst from the outside in and express it out in like a more fantasy like way. And they carved the way for us to look the way that we do now. I don't look as off putting as what people would interpret as the original punk movement. Like, I don't have Liberty spikes. I don't have, giant metal spikes out to here. I don't have like harsh makeup. Like, I would consider my makeup to be very girly pop, but like a little touch of darkness. But I do wear a lot of colorful makeup and stuff. So even when I wear colorful makeup and everything, like I can have rainbows on my face and somebody will still come up to me and tell me that I'm scary. or I'm doing too much. Like people got mad at me when I had like galaxy makeup. And it's like, why are you mad? Like, no, why are you actually mad that I exist right now? When you look into the history of the punk movement, how it evolved into the goth subculture, and you look into the bands that make up, the staples of what you would associate with goth music, such as Bauhaus, Susie and the Banshees, The Cure, and all these other bands, like Joy Division, and you look at like some of the old interviews, some of the old media coverage that they would have, and you would see like you kind of get a glimpse into like their attitude and like their mindset and everything, then you have a better understanding of what the scene is today and how we show up in the world and have more respect for it. But I feel like people don't want to do the work to understand. They just, I don't like it. It needs to go away. I don't care about why it is the way it is. I just don't want it to be that way and get rid of it. Like, I feel like that's the attitude that a lot of people have towards me and the alternative people. And it's just, I don't know. I feel like their attitude towards alternative people is more off-putting to alternative people than they are turned off by alternative people, if that like makes any sense. Goth fashion isn't necessarily a uniform because there's so many different ways to do goth fashion and there's so many different cultures and things um that you kind of mix into goth subculture. Like I see Indian people doing it with saris. I see Muslim people doing it with their hijabs. I see indigenous people doing it with their beading. Like there's so many different paths in which you can go. And I also want to say that your hate of alternative people is rooted in white supremacy and racism because all of the things that we associate with being alternative or being goth now come from actual people with actual cultures that are so much deeper than the subculture that's only been around for about 40 years. Like black lips, black nails, black eyeliner, like those all come from various cultures within the African diaspora. Stretched ears, gauges, scarification, like that, those all come from spiritual practice within the African diaspora. Tattoos have been done by various cultures around the world for very spiritual and cultural reasons before it became like this giant art movement within the Western world. Before there was like manic panic and stuff for people to dye their hair pink and blue and green, people were using henna to dye their hair. And although it's not as extreme as a vibrant red, but like people were finding ways to dye their hair and get tattoos and stuff way before the advances of the modern world. And white supremacy wants homogeny. It wants us to be a melting pot. So a lot of times people use the term melting pot to talk about diversity, like, oh, we're all just giant melting pot. It's a little bit of everything. But when you think about what happens when you put a whole bunch of things into a melting pot, it all turns brown, it all turns beige, it all turns into one. And that is the goal of white supremacy, is to make us all one and forget our identities, forget our cultures, forget our history, forget our ancestors, forget everything about ourselves and just adapt into the world of white supremacy, which is designed to create a subclass that separates the slave class from the slave owning class. So if you're not adopting these issues of white supremacy to try and align yourself with the slave owning class, then you will be within the slave class. But what a lot of people of color don't realize is that when they adopt white supremacist values, hoping for white validation to erase their ethnic identity and the horrors and consequences that comes with it, is that they still see you as less than, no matter how hard you ride for them. And that's why you see Trump supporting Latinos getting deported. Like, you can't win by aligning yourself with white supremacy. Even if you're white, like people who voted for Trump are having their farms defunded. Like, you don't win by aligning with hate. So, like the hatred towards alternative people is rooted in white supremacy, and there's a specific type of racism that black alternative people face. So like nobody really talks about it. People would say like, oh my gosh, you guys say everything is racist, everything isn't racist. No, literally, the more you read and the more you look into stuff, you will see that everything is racist. Everything is hateful. Everything, like all roads lead to white supremacy in our modern society. And if we don't call it out and point out when it is happening to us and around us, then how are we going to be able to defeat it? How are we going to be able to call it out? How are we going to be able to say, this is right, this is wrong, and like have accountability for these things so they can stop happening? Another reason why it's offensive is because you're erasing the meaning. Like, it's like people who say they're goth, but they don't like goth music, or they don't align with goth values, but they just like their fashion. It's like you want the rhythm without the blues. It's like you're just like you're watering down. You're taking something that's so rich in culture and have so much nuance and just want to strip it all into nothing but water. It's like unseasoned food. Like you take all the culture, you take all the seasoning away, and it's just bland. It's nothingness. And who wants that? Beyond personal style and rebellion, like goth is an intellectual and artistic movement. Art is political, and we're like in an anti-literacy, anti-intellectual society right now. Really dark. So I again, like it really is that deep, and you guys really do need to stop because it really is like actually worse than I can ever get into in like a small YouTube video. So telling someone to tone it down is rooted in erasing the depth, erasing the history, erasing so much context and nuance in terms of history, philosophy, art, and everything. It's not about just looking spooky. Like personal expression, self expression is just so much deeper than that. The term goth comes from the media calling the movement that because they associated the style with they associated the music and the style with gothic literature, gothic architecture, gothic stories and such in the past, such as, Mary Shelley, goth horror type thing that really established names. Like, it's not even something that we refer to ourselves as. It just was like the post punk movement. And then that's kind of how it evolved into, the goth subculture because that's what the media was calling people who had a certain look and had a certain interest in music. Back then, like in the 80s, it wasn't even called goth music. It was just a regular pop music that was like on the radio. Things like Susie and the Banshees, The Cure, and stuff like that used to be just a regular mainstream music. But at some point, the media kind of like took it and was like, oh, this is actually melancholy and dark. This is goth. So people kind of took that term and reclaimed it and was like, you know what? I am goth. I do like the history, the music, the culture, and everything that you guys associated it with. And we are going to reclaim it as our own and, live in this way. In a lot of ways, fashion is a reflection of it. If you study fashion design, if you study fashion history, you learn how different fabrics kind of like different fabrics can complement different moods and different vibes associated with music, literature, and all these other inspirations way before we had like goth capitalist brands selling the stuff. So like before there were all of these brands selling goth fashion, a lot of it was DIY. So you did have to know how to sew. And if you wanted something nice and really fun and intricate, you did have to have some type of design skill, some type of creation. And people didn't make things based on, internet trends because the internet wasn't really what it is today, like back in the 80s. So people made things based on fantasies, novels, books, different fabrics, different textures like lace, velvet, leather, and all of these other things like nice flowy things. It matches up with the literature, it matches up with the music, which is inspired by a lot of the literature and like in so many different ways. Like it's just so much texture, so much nuance. Like it's a really beautiful thing. And I wish that more people had a deeper appreciation for it. So telling someone to tone it down just kind of erases a lot of that depth, a lot of that history, a lot of that context, a lot of that nuance, and it's just a shame that you don't appreciate beauty. So there is like a painful intersection of marginalization that tends to happen here because, you know, goth, a lot of goth people are already marginalized in so many different ways. Is a very welcoming place for people who are queer, people who are different races, different religions, people who come from different traditions and cultures, and we can all come together and unite about our genuine interest in music. So telling people to tone it down just takes away from our ability to connect with other like-minded group of people. It also takes away our ability to connect with ourselves. So even though the subculture is a place that is supposed to be welcoming to a wide variety of groups of people, especially people who are already marginalized, the goth culture does have its own issues with things like colorism, racism. We got people creating Facebook groups called Goths Against Cancel Culture. So I wouldn't say that the scene is all welcoming because we unfortunately do have bigots who don't know how to read the room and aren't picking up on the vibes. But telling people to tone down isn't the answer to that. Like, I feel like the people who are of sound mind, the people who are not hateful, should be louder than the people who are hateful. Like, we should have more goth creators like Angela. I'm gonna put her name on screen instead of more people like Jake Monroe because like these people are just loud and wrong. And I just feel like the people who are kind, empathetic, and like minded should be louder than the people who are hateful because we don't want our scene to be associated with hateful people. We don't want to be a welcoming place for hateful people. And we don't want hateful people to feel comfortable in our space. So I feel like another element of telling people to tone down is like telling people that they aren't allowed to find community and they aren't allowed to find purpose like everybody else. Like everybody else is able to find community and purpose with other like-minded groups of people for their overall health and well-being based on things that they like and are interested in, as long as they are socially acceptable. Now, of course, if you're doing something to hurt yourself or other people, that I can understand, but it's not socially acceptable. But if all you're doing is listening to music and talking about your love of this and that, and like sharing genuine interest, I feel like you should be able to be out and loud with that. There's a level of this that can also hint at goth people of color to tone it down, and like it's specifically problematic to tell goth people of color to tone it down because in so many different ways the subculture is always trying to tell us that we don't have the right to exist and that we don't exist at all because goth is associated with being pale, being Victorian, being very European, being white, and telling goth people of color to tone it down is also another level of erasure, another level of racism, another level of you don't have the right to exist if you're not going to show up in a way that fits my needs and fits my beauty standards and fits the worldview that I would ideally like to exist in. And I just don't vibe with that. I just don't agree with that. And I'm not going to let people tell me to tone down because it makes them feel uncomfortable that I'm existing in the world. It is a level of racism and misogyny that is also tied to that, that is deeper than just I don't like your makeup, you shouldn't wear that. I don't like your clothes, you shouldn't wear that. Like it's just a specific type of racism and sexism and hatred that comes with that. There's just a specific type of icky. So, in conclusion, I would say that telling people to tone it down isn't just telling people to tone it down as like a lighthearted little comment to make. It is a specific level of diabolical to do, especially when you take into the nuance of people of color, people of different races, different religions, different cultures. And you're telling people that they don't have the right to exist, and you're telling people that they just shouldn't be here. And I not to get dark, but like people control alt delete themselves because they don't feel like they belong in this world every day. And people who are LGBTQ are more prone to this than others. And I just feel like we need more love in the world and less hate because it could literally save someone's life. I also feel like we shouldn't be promoting conformity because conformity is white supremacy and we should all be working. We should all be doing our part to call it out and abolish it. It's more than just about how we dress and how we show up in the world. It speaks volumes to our personal values and interests, and we are allowed to have those values and interests so long as they're not doing anything to hurt anybody, which 9 times out of 10 aren't. So I don't know, like it's not okay to tell people to be smaller, be quieter, be unseen. Like it just silences people. And silence is a form of violence. Like silencing marginalized people, silencing people that are on the outskirts of society is dangerous, not only for those people, but like other people involved, like it's how we are in the political climate that we are in today because people don't pay attention to the canary in the mine because marginalized people get sacrificed. And, like we just shouldn't allow for it. Like it is so much deeper than I don't like the way you dress, stop doing it. Like it is a whole thing. Like you're telling me that I'm not allowed to be interested in the things that I'm interested in, and I'm not allowed to express that because it makes you feel uncomfortable, and your comfortability with my existence is more important than my right to exist. And that's not okay. I will not tone it down. I will get weirder as I age. I will keep doing creative makeup looks. I will keep putting yarn in my hair. I will keep making and coordinating and putting together crazier outfits. I will keep designing and coordinating my own looks. I will keep focusing on my art and my creativity and everything about that. As I get older, I would like to get more tattoos. I would like to get more piercings. As my hair grow out, I would like to bleach it and dye it and experiment with different colors again because I haven't done so in years. And I would like to be able to do that and be happy and be healthy and really take advantage of this beautiful life that we live and do everything that I can with it, just like anybody else. So I hope that if you are an alternative person watching this video, this empowers you to continue to not only continue looking the way that you want, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody, but also to continue just showing up in the world as your truest self and continuing to empower yourself and those around you. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions, any comments. Is there anything that you feel like I missed in this point? And just comment it below, and I will see you guys later. Bye. Right, so I forgot to say this, but if you have any stories of anybody telling you that you need to tone down, any experiences with people telling you that you're doing too much or people treating you as if you're like an inconvenience for being this creative, expressive person, please comment your stories down below because I have my own stories, but I was really just trying to stay on topic and not ramble too much outside of the original point. I just wanted to, steer clear. So, comment your stories below if you have any stories of being toned down, being told that you have to tone down, and how you handled it, any advice that you would have for other people in similar situations. And I will see you guys later.